To kind of populate the attendee list here, and then we'll get started in just a second. Deputy Director of the Center for Access to Justice and the Director of Law. This is the fourth in our series on access to justice in Georgia, and we're justice. I will share a resource page in the chat that has the panelists' bios and some resources for you, both for this class and the three that we've done before, all of which are recorded and and are live streamed on our YouTube channel under the GSU College of Law YouTube page if you'd like to share those or refer back to them at any point. So I will go ahead and turn it over to Judge Tabitha Ponder and share that resource link for you guys in the chat. Thanks again for being here. Oh, and Tabitha, you're on mute. Somebody had to be.
Hey, gotta do it once or twice.
There you go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Darcy, so much. I am a staff to the Judicial Council of Georgia's Access to Justice Committee. I'm a part-time magistrate court judge here in Georgia, have my own practice and do a few other things like mediation and arbitration. This program we're about to do today is so important to me because I've been inspired by what Tennessee has been doing with regards to faith and justice. I'm also a preacher's kid, so I've had a lot of dealings with the faith community and have been a lawyer for over 20 years. And I've had some great experiences connecting to the faith community here in Georgia. I'm going to turn it over to Anne Louise shortly. I actually went there to Tennessee maybe 2019 or 18, I can't remember, after COVID. But we're going to kick off this with the staff from Tennessee. And I want to shadow them and to see all of the amazing work they're doing with faith leaders in Tennessee. We're also going to hear from a panel of faith leaders in Georgia, moderated by Mark Johnson, who is both an attorney here in Georgia as well as an ordained minister. So now, I'm going to hand it off to you, Anne Louise from Tennessee at this time. Anne Louise, we've got your bio, we have your bio posted, but if you could do a short introduction of yourself, please, that would be wonderful.
Sure, happy to. Yes, I'm Anne Louise Worthland, and I'm the Director of Access to Justice at the Tennessee Supreme Court Administrative Office of the Courts. And I have been working in access to justice for our office for about 13 years now. My role has changed over the years and our program has expanded over those years, but I've been in this area for quite a while. I am a lawyer. Prior to coming to the AOC, I did some family law, also did some contract work for the state, and just sort of did a lot of different things in the general civil world. But I'm happy to be here today. We love sharing about our faith-based initiatives, and we call it the Tennessee Faith and Justice Alliance. And we are always happy to have folks come up and shadow us, or even go to other states and other groups who are interested in formalizing their partnership with their faith-based communities. So I'm just going to talk for about 15, 20 minutes about what we've done in Tennessee, how we got to where we are, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Johnson for the panel discussion. But as I said, I am with the Supreme Court in Tennessee and our Access to Justice Commission. And our court created the commission about a little over 10 years ago. And the commission was really focused on, where do people go in times of crisis? Where do they go when they need counsel of some sort? And we looked to a lot of different resources like public libraries and things of that nature. And in Tennessee, it became quickly apparent that people go to their faith leaders and their faith communities when they are seeking counsel and advice and just don't really know where else to turn to. So we started off with, we have advisory committees for our commission. So we've had a faith-based advisory committee since the commission started, and we just brought together faith leaders throughout the state, private attorneys who are very involved in their faith communities, and then also attorneys and organizations that provide pro bono opportunities, and tried to just bring all of those partners to the table to figure out how we can equip our faith communities to provide greater access to justice. About 2 to 3 years after the commission was created, it became really apparent to us that we needed to sort of formalize this network. And we call that the Tennessee Faith and Justice Alliance. The Alliance is not something that's necessarily separate from the commission. It's not a nonprofit or anything like that. But again, it's just this formalization of this network. So people that are, faith leaders, again, faith communities, have a place to turn to if they've identified a need in their community that legal resources could help. And then also for our pro bono organizations and organizations trying to connect to their communities to have an outlet and a way to do that. So we've had our Faith and Justice Alliance since early 2013. And we were able to receive a grant from the American Bar Association to put things on paper, figure out what this is going to look like. Let's create some models. Let's create things that we can build upon, but also could be replicated in other parts of the country. And we also were able to approach our Tennessee Supreme Court and ask for another staff position that would really oversee this faith-based initiative, because we view this role as really being sort of the face of our initiative. They're out in the community, they're meeting with people in person, they're meeting with faith leaders, and you can't have one person in the office doing one side of it and then another person, and also be out in the world. So we were successful in getting that position funded and then launched our faith-based initiative. And we started what we call a referral model. What we found is a lot of times faith leaders knew that there was possibly a legal resolution that could help their congregant, but they really didn't know where to go. In some organizations, that's not that big of an issue. There may be many attorneys that make up that congregation, but in others, there's probably not any attorneys. So where do they send them? Where do they send those folks? And we wanted to create this model where pro bono attorneys would agree to accept referrals from either a specific congregation, a specific community, or they would agree to accept referrals on specific legal issues. So for example, if they did family law in their practice and were really comfortable in that area of law, that they would, we could approach them to have really just a consultation with that person, that client. We weren't looking at income. We weren't screening for things like that nature. It was just people that had taken the step, taken the initiative to go to their faith community for help, and trying to match them up with a lawyer who would give them some free, limited legal advice. Now, what happened from there was really up to that client and that lawyer. If it was a client who could afford some more in-depth legal representation, then that was just worked out again between the attorney and the client. If it was a client who could not, then again, it was a very limited scope legal advice and counsel, but get them going on the right path. So they knew what to do next, and they knew they were just equipped to better engage with the legal system. And so that is our referral model. We developed 3 other prongs of work. One is your traditional legal advice clinics. Our legal aid groups have been using faith groups and churches for a long time, partnering to hold those clinics, using their community centers or their gymnasiums or even, their houses of worship as the clinic site. But really looking at, if there's a group that wants to come together and have a recurring legal clinic, or just a one-off big community day of some sort legal clinic, showing people how to do that. There's forms that you need there. You got to recruit volunteers. You've got to again, there's the forms. You've got to sort of just understand the flow of a legal clinic. And if you've never put on a legal clinic before, which why would you necessarily if you were a faith or community leader, you just need some handholding for that first time. So we have a clinic in a box, a resource kit that people can use and replicate. And then also we are available. We do a lot of, we plant a lot of clinics. Our pro bono attorney coordinator that oversees the faith-based is, on the road a lot out in Tennessee, getting folks, just helping them get off the ground. And we love it when a clinic becomes established and they don't need us as much anymore. But, that's what we're here for, is to get them going. And we provide some of those administrative services. For example, in Tennessee, you can get continuing education credit for doing pro bono work. We take care of that. And we also can provide some malpractice insurance for attorneys that do volunteer. So just, again, sort of that, we love to take that backseat role when we can. The third prong is community education. A lot of pastors and faith leaders, they'll identify a need based on what they're hearing from their communities. And we can put together, so, a know your rights type of presentation for them. And if it may not be that we are the attorneys or the folks with the subject matter expertise, but we can quickly find out who covers that area of the state and connect them with that faith leader. And, we put that on, we help organize it. And we love doing those because, again, it establishes that connection with that community and the subject matter expert in the organizations that work in that field. So now they have another place to refer people to when those issues keep recurring. And then our fourth prong that we really are proud of is legal issue spotting. And that is where we actually train and educate the faith and community leaders on how to listen for buzzwords or clues that there might be a legal remedy to what this person that they're counseling is going through. Not asking you to give legal advice. Can't give legal advice if you're not an attorney, but just to sort of be, in addition to feeding and housing and clothing community members, is there a possibility that an attorney could provide some service to this person that could get them out of this situation or keep them from going down this path? So that's our legal issue spotting training. And we've had a lot of success with that because, again, it's just not something, if you've never been in the legal system, you're just not going to know these resources. So along that same line with our legal issue spotting, we have some just statewide and regional resources that either we've created or our partners have created. So when a community member comes to the faith leader, there can be somewhere immediate they can send them to, not waiting for a legal clinic or not, taking the time to work through the referral model, which, again, we are working on volunteer attorneys, so you're at the mercy of their schedules and what else, what's going on in their practice. So a few of those is we have a statewide legal advice helpline, not a hotline because it's not 24/7, but it's Monday through Friday during normal operating business hours. But anybody in the state can call that. It's called Help for TN. And talk to a lawyer. So we train our faith leaders on that resource. There is also a corresponding website called helpfortn.org where it has just some basic legal information and some other resources that this person could find and access immediately and start learning about their legal issue and what they can do. We have a legal wellness checkup, which is another online tool. And just think of it like when you go to your doctor for a checkup, there's maybe nothing really totally wrong, but you're just talking through some things that have happened over the last year. The legal wellness checkup is like that, where you answer questions and then it helps identify existing legal issues, but also potential legal issues. And it will generate a personalized report for the user with resources for them to go where they could address this. So it's really helpful, again, in sort of that issue spotting world. So we make sure that we have some immediate tools for our faith leaders to send folks to, because there may not be a legal clinic or there just may not be another opportunity coming up in the near future and that person needs some more immediate help. We have found that the faith-based initiative is really important and impactful in our rural communities. I'm based in Nashville, our capital. A lot of times there's some pushback when we come in, a bunch of lawyers or a bunch of state employees coming from the Capitol trying to organize and things of that nature. But we found if we can identify our champions, who they are going to be, our community and faith leaders, and go and meet them and talk to them and, either address the need that they've identified or help them identify needs in their community. And then once we have been able to partner and establish that partnership with the faith leaders, it's a whole lot easier to get people to participate in the clinics and come out to the legal trainings, and because they trust their faith community or their community organization, and that trust sort of carries over into us. We've also found that in our rural communities, sometimes the church or the community center, that's the only place big enough to do anything. So, just to have a venue or a place to be, we know that people can be kind of scared to go to court. They don't want to necessarily go to something at the courthouse because maybe they haven't had a great experience with the legal system or, local or state government. So, taking it offsite into this neutral and trusted location has really helped us expand into our rural communities and truly where there's counties where there's not an attorney other than the judge and the public defender and the district attorney in that county. I mean, we've got some very, very rural places, as I'm sure Georgia does as well. And even for those folks to get to the nearest legal aid office would, you're talking probably at least an hour and a half away. So going into our rural communities and again, just partnering with their trusted faith organization has really helped us expand and provide, greater access to the court system, which is what we're all about. We love our model. We love that other states are interested in it, but we also love to learn from other states and other groups that do this work. We are continuing to refine and our tools and how we connect with folks. Social media wasn't even really a thing back 10 years ago, or it was very limited. Now it's one of the primary ways to connect to people sometimes. So we're very excited to come and talk to other groups that are interested in doing this work, and also getting feedback on what is working for you all and for these groups, because it helps us continue to build and refine our model. Some things that we're working on, I know my time's kind of winding down, but that we're working on in the future is we're bringing back an in-person Faith and Justice Summit. We did go back in person last year, but it was quite small, as you can just imagine, people kind of getting a little bit more comfortable being back together in these bigger conferences. But we're bringing that back this year in a wider capacity, and just again bringing together faith leaders and attorneys who are perhaps not motivated necessarily from their professional obligation to do pro bono, but they're motivated through their faith to do some pro bono work. We're looking forward to that event. It's not been calendared, but I'll be happy to share it when it is. We're also wanting to retool, I guess, and revisit that referral model. During the pandemic, it took a little bit of a hit because it really was sort of based on a one-on-one type of consult. And we want to play with how we can use virtual tools that we're also much more adept at now to connect folks for that referral model, and just getting sort of back out in the state. Like as I mentioned, this person is our way, our pro bono coordinator is our way to be able to connect with people on a much more personal level. And we're excited to really be able to do that this calendar year. I do think that my time is very close to being up, so I am going to go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Johnson. But I am going to send also just some links and other things that can be added to the resource toolkit. And you have my bio, my contact information. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or would like to discuss more. And thank you so much for having me today.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Ann Louise. That's really very interesting and inspiring. I think I would speak for myself, but maybe the rest of us, to hear all the exciting things that you're doing in Tennessee, and gives us inspiration to think how we can help to shape the lives of people in a similar way. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mark Johnson. I am your moderator for the remainder of the discussion today, the panel. I bring three perspectives to this discussion. One, I'm an attorney in private practice and have been for 26 years, first in Mississippi and now in Georgia. I'm also ordained clergy in the Episcopal Church, specifically a transitional deacon, and I have a particular emphasis on the intersection of faith and public life and law. And then third, I am on the staff of the Georgia Interfaith Public Policy Center. The center is devoted to lending an interfaith voice to public policy making here in the state of Georgia. Our current board has representatives from Judaism, from Islam, from various expressions of Christian faith, from Unitarian Universalism. And so we're very engaged at the level on the subjects that we're talking about today. And I hope that if you have an interest in this subject matter, you will check us out, check the center out. And at this point, I'm going to ask our panelists to introduce themselves one at a time. And what I'll do is just go in the order in which I see you, if that's okay. And I'll start with Pastor Colbert.
Thank you so much. I am just honored to be a part of this panel. I don't know how my name really came up to be a part of it, but I'm just delighted to be able to contribute something to this discussion. I am Pastor Marvin Colbert. I am live and born and raised in Macon, Georgia, and have pastored. I am pastoring at the Bethel AME Church here in Macon, in the community called Bellevue. And it is an impoverished kind of community, but a community with loving people that has a need. And I'm so glad that I am here to be able to provide needs to the people that are around this church. I have been a pastor ordained minister with the AME Church for nearly 25 years and have pastored two churches, one in Fort Valley, called Gordon Chapel AME Church. I was there for just about 5 years, and then got an assignment, an appointment from my bishop, and have been here at Bethel for about 14 years. I am not an attorney, as I see some of you are, but I am married to one, the Honorable Judge Pam White Colbert. So again, just delighted to be here and be a part of this discussion.
Thank you, Pastor Colbert. Angel Bradford, would you go next?
Good morning, or good afternoon, excuse me. I'm also very honored to be here. My name is Angel Bradford. I am not an attorney, but I am a captain with the Albany Police Department and have been for 36 years and some odd months. I'm also hold a master's in theology, and although I'm not an ordained minister, I am heavily involved in my parish at St. Teresa's Catholic Church, doing whatever they need doing. And that's basically it for me. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Angel. And last but not least, Mr. Thomas Cotton.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Thomas Cotton. I'm the founder and CEO of Redemption and Advancement Alliance, where our mission is to disrupt the cycles of incarceration. I have over 25 years of experience helping people transition out of prison. Our organization now is about 12 years old. During that time, I am also a successful church planner in the South Atlanta area of a church called Refuge Church, and where we engage people within our community to see ways we can help them overcome some of the barriers that they face in life in order to make that transition toward redemption.
All right. Well, thank you all for those introductions. We have a series of questions. I'm going to pitch them to our panelists one at a time. I think I'm going to start in reverse order. This time, start with Mr. Cotton. And our first question is, what is the mission of your faith-based initiative? And is there a nexus between your organization and the legal profession?
So our mission, again, is to disrupt the cycles of incarceration. And what we do is we focus on the person. The person is the most important part of the process. And so they have to go through a system. In the system of incarceration, there's many different barriers that they have to overcome. And so what we look at is, how do we equip the person by helping them overcome barriers, by creating a blueprint for life and connecting them with the proper resources. Our intersection with the legal system or with legal profession generally happens with probation, parole, or community corrections. It happens on the front end of being when a person's going through the judicial system and going through their cases. We engage them early on. And the earlier we can engage them, the better off we can help them either avoid incarceration or plan better for how they're going to go through incarceration, how they'll come out. We also work with the Department of Corrections as well as the Bureau of Prisons to help people transition out of prison. The sooner we can engage again, the better off we can connect them with resources. So listening to this panel and listening to everything Ann Louise was talking about, these are great opportunities to help people who just want to live a different life, and having these resources to connect them to helps them to overcome some of the barriers that they face. And so that's our mission, and to disrupt the cycles of incarceration. That's how we do it.
Thank you. Angel, could I ask you to field the same question? I'm happy to repeat it if you need me to.
No, sir. Through St. Teresa's, we have an inner city program that we have been sponsoring since 1976 called Neighbors in Need, where we provide meals, hot meals during the week for indigent people who come up there. We also collect food items so that we can furnish them with groceries on a needed basis. We can also, on a very limited basis, and I'm sure you can understand, assist with some financial needs based on a individual basis. We're also heavily involved in prison ministry at Lee State Prison and Calhoun State Prison, although Calhoun is shut down still from COVID. We have provided access to immigration attorneys for some of the people in our community who are not here illegally, that they can come and get their paperwork started, particularly the people who fall under DACA, which is, of course, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. That's gone through a change that went into effect in August of last year. So, we're helping them with that. From a law enforcement standpoint, we are involved with Faith in Blue. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but that's something that we've been doing for the last 2 years here. And, trying to get the faith community on board to help the police department with this has been like pulling teeth. I hate to say that, but it's so true. But the Faith in Blue is an opportunity for the faith community to be a bridge between law enforcement and the community. And they're such an integral part of that we can't seem to get them involved. We're working, the police department is working on programs to help feed the hungry and the homeless, along with St. Teresa. So that's just getting started. Another thing that we're looking at from the church side, from St. Teresa's side, is through our prison ministry, we have found that there are inmates who are eligible for parole, but they can't be paroled because they have no place to go. And we were researching the number of transitional facilities. They're very limited. I think they're called Thor, rehabilitative housing. They're even rare. So we're actually looking into the possibility of starting something along those lines to help with recently discharged inmates.
Great, thank you. Pastor Colbert.
Yes, thank you for the question. An interesting question. I really have to give you a little bit of history of the AME Church as it is the nexus between the faith community and the legal community. The AME Church, the mission of the AME Church is, of course, to minister the social, intellectual, spiritual, and physical needs of all people. But it just happens that this panel discussion is perfectly timed or divinely timed with our Founders Day. The founder of the AME Church, of course, is Richard Allen, some of you may know, and he was born on February 14th, 1760. And the history of the AME Church was this man, Richard Allen, was born a slave, and he was able to purchase his freedom at the age of 17 years old. And he heard the preaching of one Garrison and became an ordained minister at the age of 22 years old. And he joined a church called St. George's Methodist Church. And the Black people at that time were able to have worship service at St. George's at the early morning hour of 5 a.m. in the morning. And it just happens that one particular day that they had all assembled at St. George's to have worship service, and the worship service was disturbed. There were people at St. George's that wanted the blacks, free blacks in the church to go to another portion of the church. And so they decided at that point that they were no longer wanted or welcome at St. George's, and they left St. George's, went to a blacksmith shop and started their own church. First, it was called the Free African Society, and then later named the African Methodist Episcopal Church. African because it was designed for people of African descent, and Methodist because there's a systematic method of doing things, and then the episcopacy because there is a hierarchy, there's a structure design. And so the AME Church was born in a blacksmith shop on the basis of social injustice and fairness and fair treatment. And so from 1787 to now, the AME Church have been working to show and to bring about social action and social justice for all people from 1787 through the civil rights era of 1960s until now. We still have that same mandate, that same ministry and mission to provide social action. And local churches, we are mandated, the pastors in each assembly, to have a social action commission that we work with people who have been wrongly accused or need justice on their side. And so we work in ministry as advocates for people who are seeking justice in any form. And so what we do is to bring the church and faith community together, since all of the ministers in the AME faith, we really have to get to know the authorities in our cities. We have to know who the district attorney is. We need to know who the local politicians, the mayors, those community leaders, the commissioners or city council people. We need to have some kind of engagement and relationship with them. And so by doing that, we are able to firsthand be a witness and talk with those people who are setting programs in the various communities so that we can bring those programs back into those areas that we serve and to assist the people there in our areas. I'm really excited about some of the things that the district attorney, Anita Howard, is doing here in Macon. And I think really is making a difference in the lives of the people here. And so, yes, the church is engaged in every aspect as much as we can to bring about social justice and social action to the people in need.
Thank you, Pastor. Our second question is, in what ways can the faith community, either your community or just your thoughts generally about the way the faith community, participate in justice efforts? And this time I'll start with Angel if I can.
Oh boy. One of the biggest problems that we see is the inability of the less fortunate to afford the services of attorneys to help them navigate the legal system. We are fortunate to have several attorneys in our parish that are willing to assist, if not pro bono, then at an extremely discounted rate. The church has loaned money to people that may be in need of assisting with funds to help navigate the legal system. We're also quite fortunate to have the Self-Help Center here at our law library at the Dougherty County Courthouse that has the access to justice and the staff there to help people also navigate through the system. They have the computers there. They do charge, for the printing, obviously, but and they're not attorneys. They don't give legal advice, but they do, point them in the right direction.
Pastor Colbert, your thoughts on that question?
Thank you. What we do here at Bethel, as I stated, we try to have a relationship with those local authorities, particularly with the district attorney's office here in Macon. There is a wonderful program that we are partnering with the district attorney's office in Macon. She has an initiative, one called RISE. And the RISE program is sort of like a preventative program for young people that are nonviolent offenders. And that program is designed to come in and mentor with them and teach them how not to go into the criminal side of the law. And so we try to do those preventative things here at Bethel first. If we can stop a young person from doing something that would affect the rest of their life, then that's sort of the mission that I take. Yesterday, just happens yesterday at one of our youth hours, we taught just the scripture out of 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of love, but of power, and of love, and of a sound mind. And the teaching to our kids at the youth hour was for them to not to be afraid to want to advance, not to be afraid to step away from the peer pressure, and to have a sense of love for their community, a sense of love for themselves, sense of respect, power, that they can achieve, that they can accomplish things. And most of all, when it says that God has given them a sound mind, that they have to have the ability to think their way through things. When they're faced with circumstances, when they're faced with difficulty, they have to have that ability to think their way through situations that could limit the rest of their lives. So we're looking at those things on a preventative kind of thing for youth. That's one way, in partnering with the district attorney's office. District attorney's office has a program called the Junior Justice League, and the Junior Justice League is more like a summer camp for kids. I believe it's from the ages of 12 to 17, and they take the kids on various trips. And I think District Attorney Howard has received a grant, but we still partner with them because we know grants become limited And so we still have to partner with our agencies that are doing things. And so I know this past summer, the Junior Justice League took the kids to a Braves game. Well, for them to get there, they need transportation. So our churches will provide the vans to get the kids to those places. Before they get on the van, then we would open our facility and have Domino's deliver pizza, that type of thing to feed the kids so that they won't have to pay $10 for a hot dog, at the Braves game. And so those are the types of things that we're doing. I love the preventative measures so that we can keep children out of the system as much as we can. Then on the other hand, yes, we do work with the district attorney's office, and I believe it was Angel and Louise mentioning about record restrictions and having a place, opening your facility where people can come in and get information about how do I get my records clean, and in the community they say, how do I get off paper, and so how do I get myself in a situation where I'm able to vote again, or how can I get my situation in a place where I can get a good job, And so we open up our facilities and we have those kind of trainings. We have the district attorney's office to come in and to tell people in our communities, what they need to do so that they can, advance in those rights that are given to them: the right to work, the right to vote, the right for to have decent housing. And so those are some of the things that we're trying to do in our church.
Great, thank you. Thomas, in what ways can faith communities contribute to the participate in justice efforts?
So I believe our faith communities are leaders in our community. We have faith-based people everywhere. And so communities can get involved in many different ways. When we think about justice efforts, we have to be intentional about justice efforts, because there's a lot of other efforts that we can do that are admirable, but we forget about the justice efforts a lot of the times. What I've found with a lot of the returning citizens within that have come through our organization and those I've been in contact with is faith community usually ends while they're inside. There's no transition. There's not this connection between the churches coming inside, providing great worship, great trust, great community for the individuals while they're inside. But then the person's transitioning out of the facility, it's hard for them to reconnect back to those communities. I believe our faith communities are perfectly positioned to be able to provide wraparound bridge services. We've done trainings with other churches and with national organizations on what these bridge services look like, because a lot of times we believe, and what we do going into jails and prisons is great, but it's so much more needed to make that connection outside, because the individuals who are inside these jails and prisons, they're trying to transition life also. They've come from one life, they've been arrested, they're paying their debt to society, and now they're trying to transition out into a new world with a new type of mindset, new type of people that they can connect with. In our faith-based community, we're perfectly positioned to provide those wraparound services, the handoff, the support. The trust continues to be built. I think we have access, and that's the one thing that faith organizations and faith communities have. We have access to the people who are in the justice system, not only the lawyers, not only the people who are incarcerated, but as we have right here, we have police officers, we have judges, we have so many people that we can begin to connect. I believe that our faith organizations, when we come together in coalition for a purpose of promoting the gospel, honestly, that we can make a serious impact or a significant impact.
Thank you. And all of you have touched on this topic a little bit, but just more specifically, what tools and resources are your individual organizations providing for those with legal problems? Pastor Colbert, can I ask you to start on this question?
Again, the tools that we're providing for people who are having legal problems would be one. Again, the record restriction, working with the district attorney's office for record restriction, opening up our facility for that. And even if there is another facility that is holding a record restriction, placing it on our website, giving that information out, that they can go to another place to receive record restriction. So we work in that regard. We try to also look at the victims of people who have been part of the justice system, who need assistance, and giving assistance to victims of people who have been subject to crime. And so we will work again with those people who may need assistance to go into safe housing. We work with our crisis line. We have those numbers available. When our office is called, that they need help, then we have a directory that we can point people to get assistance. We do have the food pantry here at our church, where if they need of food, then they can come and get food. But specifically for the legal help, that would be still working with the record restriction piece. I'm sort of in a unique kind of position when it comes to working with people who are transitioning, as Brother Thomas is in that role. I'm in sort of a unique position. And what I mean by that is my wife was a 30-year prosecutor, 30-year prosecutor. And now she is a sitting judge. And so it's a unique position for me to work with some individuals, and I would not know who she may have prosecuted in the past, who is transitioning. And we have had that situation to happen here at my church, where people have come in and have needed assistance. And the one thing, and just a little humor in this, they really don't recognize her in First Lady attire. They might recognize her, in her business suit, but when she, has the church hat on and, so forth, then they really don't recognize it, but they sort of think, do I know your name? And so it's a little uncomfortable and unsettling for her, when we have people to come in, and me, on the other hand, I'm just welcoming, to folk, but still, I have to be conscious of the fact that everybody, even though they're transitioning, may not be quite appreciative of the person that may have, been on the other side of the table, against them, for them to go to jail. But still, having said all of that, we have a partnership with the Macon Rescue Mission, and all types of people come through the Macon Rescue Mission. Not necessarily people with criminal background, but some, yes, and others are simply in a homeless type of situation. But we partner with the Macon Rescue Mission, particularly the men's section, and we have what we call Man Up Sunday. It is the second Sunday in every August, and we literally, our men's choir, go to the Macon Rescue Mission, and we have a rehearsal with them and singing on Saturday evening. And those men come to Bethel on the following Sunday and be a part of the men's choir. And we just have an absolute wonderful time. Pat Christine and his staff, Jason, the staff, they come and just a part of it. And those men are really so excited about singing the gospel. They sound so good, and hearing a word, and they're so appreciative of being with us, and we can have dinner, and our members will bring in items that they need, those personal items that they will need at their facility, and so, and then we will give an offering to the Macon Rescue Mission. So that's part of some of the things that we're doing here. So we do have a hands-on kind of thing, but still considering my wife's career, I'm still slightly cautious about some things that we can and cannot do here at Bethel.
Thomas, tell us about some of the ways that your organizations are addressing folks with legal problems.
So when we first started the organization, it was based upon a curriculum I wrote called Rethink Life. And one of the things we understand about people is people often know what they want to do, why they want to do it, they just don't understand how. And Rethink Life is the process of changing and transforming perspective, because our experiences are the realest thing in the world. But if you have a negative perspective regarding those experiences, it's hard for you to navigate to the positive side of things. And so we help people to understand, first of all, how to transition or transform their perspectives so they can see their experiences different. This then allows us to create that blueprint and walk with them through the process of ways that they can transform their life, options that they have, changes that they need to make, the discipline it takes. But we also walk alongside of them. We coach them through the process. We walk with them, and we don't provide all the resources. So we have a coalition of different organizations that we work with to provide the resources that individuals need on a regular basis. We work with a group of fathers in a Fathers Matters coalition for fathers and those who have been justice impacted, and helping them to find the resources that they can become better fathers for their kids. That's one way of extending our resources out to the individuals we serve. The other thing is to get them connected to faith-based organizations. We want to find organizations, faith-based organizations that welcome people who have been justice impacted. A lot of times there's a stigma behind someone who's been in jail or prison that they're second class or whatever it may be. I'm not going to label, but we know that there's stigmas out there. And so that even goes into the church at times where people do not feel welcome. They don't feel like they're greeted. The main reason why I started a church is because I wanted our community to feel loved. I wanted them to be seen for being a person and not for basically their sin or whatever they've done in their life. And so making those connections where someone can not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of their mind. That's important because the transformation starts with mindset. And so if we're starting to look at the way we have all gone about our life, none of us are perfect. And so what we help people to understand is the desire for a better life is in all of us, but sometimes the way we go about trying to get there causes our problems. So how do we undo the things that we've done? Even though we can't change the past, we can make our futures better. So we just provide resources to the person to equip the person so that they can benefit from the resources they receive now, but they can become a resource later. They can understand how to own their own homes, how to become entrepreneurs, become successful people within our communities, and really have a true identity for their life.
Thank you. Captain Bradford, your thoughts on that question?
Through the church, we try to point them in the right direction. I'm sure all of you understand the financial investment that can come about getting involved in somebody's legal problems, and we really don't have those funds. They're not there for us as we hope to be. So again, we have the attorneys there that are in the parish that are willing to donate their time, and God bless them for that. The prison ministry, we go to the prison one day a week, and I get off work and I'm ready to go home and just veg out. and it's my night to go to the prison. And, you know, it's a 20-minute drive from my house to the prison, but I get there and these guys are they're so appreciative that somebody is willing to come out there. And I even had one inmate ask me, why are you doing this? They can't comprehend that there are people out there who genuinely are concerned about them and want to help them. And that little bit of human contact outside the prison walls means so much to them. And we try to be there for them. We've had some that have gotten released that all they had, the clothes on their back and the $25 that the prison gives them. And so, you know, we've gotten together and we've gotten them clothes and, you know, things they needed to help them get started. But, you know, even that's not enough. It doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of what we do, what we need to do. From the law enforcement standpoint, we are so fortunate to have a chief who he's from this community, and that makes a huge difference. He's invested in this community and some of the things that he has put into place. He tasked me about 4 years ago to bring our chaplaincy program back. We apparently we had one years and years ago and it faded away, and I've been able to enlist the help of 3 volunteer chaplains, or all ordained ministers who volunteer their time to come here for the officers. And that's so important because of the things that the officer sees on a daily basis, especially these young guys. Another thing that we started was our REACH program, which stands for, let me get this right now, Responding, Engaging, and Cultivating Hope. And this is a special unit that consists of a specially trained officer, a behavioral counselor, and a certified peer specialist. And they're on call to go out and handle these calls because so many of the people in our community are not just financially disadvantaged, but they're suffering from mental illness. So every one of our officers, after they graduate from the academy, attend the NAMI training, the National Alliance for Mental Illness. And they go through a 40-hour cultural intervention training on how to handle people in stages of mental crisis. And between that and the REACH program, we're seeing great progress in the people that we're dealing with because they're repeaters. We've seen them before. So they know how to talk to them and how to handle them. The NAMI program is just incredible because you encounter people who have mental illness, and we have seen, because in other areas of the country where officers were not trained to handle the mental illness, it ended tragically, either for the officer or for the person they were engaging. And so we're putting the brakes on that as far as Albany is concerned. We have a great rapport with the community. So, you know, where does the faith community come in? Well, we need those partnerships. We need those people who are willing to come out here and help us. One of my favorite quotes from Jean Vanier, the founder of the Ark, you know, it's not enough to have the heart of Christ. You have to have the hands of Christ. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for Christ in our community.
Well, thank you, panelists. I really appreciate your observations. We're right at time, so I'm going to pitch it to Michelle Barkley for any concluding thoughts.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank everybody for doing this. And we really appreciate all of you taking the time to educate all of us and all the people watching. I'm going to throw up 2 questions that we don't have time to answer, but I was hoping maybe we could get folks to send an answer to Tabitha afterward, and then we can post that in our resources packet, which we'll put up on our website. Pastor Colbert, could you tell, this is from one of the attendees, a success story from your social action committee? Again, if you'll just send that to us in email because we're out of time.
Okay.
And you can send it to Tabitha. Another attendee wanted to know of Coach Cotton, have you seen that returning citizens have a challenge with trusting the faith community? Again, could you send us that, a little answer for that
I
in
answered
an email?
in the question and answers. Question.
Awesome. Fine. You took care of it. I really appreciate it. Thank you all very, very much. It's been wonderful. Have a fabulous afternoon, and we'll all be in touch. Bye. Bye, everybody.